Hi everyone. In this lecture we will see input and output in Python. So input and output are very fundamental operations that you can do in any programming language. So what do we mean by input and output basically? So outputting means printing something on the console, on the screen, right? So you want to print some data, print some logs, any kind of thing, printing anything or displaying it to the user is called output. Now output can be on the same screen on which you are running the program, or it can be in a file, or it can be on some other server. Like output can be on various things. But when we talk about basics of output, it is generally outputting on the console on which we are running the program. We will see that, okay? Like if we have to output in a file, how to do that, or if we have to output on the same console, how to do that. In the demo, I'll explain like what the console means and like where are we running the program and so on. This is output. And similarly, inputting means like the program can read some data while the program is running. If you want to read some data from the user so that they can enter that data from the keyboard, and you want to input that data, let's say a name of a person or age or some commands. Let's say you want to proceed with like you have some selection to make, right? For example, like if you're running a command on command line, like some elaborate script, and it wants your approval, should I continue or not? So when you hit yes, it should move forward and so on. So if you have to take any type of input from the user, that also you can do. And generally every language supports inputting and outputting. In this lecture we will see how Python handles inputting and outputting data from the console or like inputting from the user. So let's go ahead. First we will see output. Output means again printing the data. So printing some data onto the console. So in Python we can simply use the print function to print output. Okay. It's a predefined function that is present in Python. If you just use the print function and if you enter anything inside print, it will be printed on the console. So the print function is one of the most commonly used functions in Python. It is used to display data to the standard output device, usually the screen. So you can actually use the print function to output the data anywhere. But most generally, if you're not telling the print function, by default, it will print on the screen where you're running the program. Okay, for example, like this is how you can use the print function. You can just write print and then small brackets, and inside the small brackets, let's say here I have passed a string, hello, comma, world. So this entire strings, whatever is within this double quotes is a single string. Okay, we will see what strings are in data type lecture. So this is a single string and we can print this entire string on the screen. So what will happen when you run this command? When you just run this single line, hello, comma, world, this entire thing will be printed on the screen like this. Hello, comma, world. Don't worry what strings are. We will see that in detail. But for now, just understand that this entire thing will be printed on the screen if you have added it in double quotes. Okay, this is how print command works. Now print command has various arguments. Like it's just not the string that you can print. You can do many things with it. So how print command exactly works, let us see through that. So in print command, you can actually use all these arguments: separation, end, file, or flush. So we will see in detail what exactly all these arguments mean. So this is the entire syntax of print command, okay, or the print function. Generally we don't use all these features, but consider all these as features of print command, and we will I'll try to explain you where exactly or when exactly you have to use all these features. So first is print, and you can actually pass many values to it and it will print all those values. It's not just that you can only print a single string or a single value or a single integer on the screen. You can print many of them at once using the single print command, and that is why value bracket mein s is mentioned here, right? Which means you can pass multiple values to the print command and it will print all of them. And after that we have something called as separator, then end line, like how to end the printing statement, then file, if you want to print in a file, how to do that, and then flush. So I'll try to explain what each one of them mean in detail, but this is a basic definition of each one of them. So what are values? So values are one or more expressions that you want to print on the screen. We will see with example in detail like how these work. So if you want to print one or more expressions, you can just pass them inside the print command and it will print all of them. Okay. So for example, if you just write print string A and comma string B, so essentially you are trying to print A also and B also, right? So the command mentioned here is print, and then I am trying to print string A and another string containing the character B. Okay. So what does it mean? I want to print A also and B also. So both will be printed on the screen like this, A and then space, then B. By default, if you are trying to print multiple things, a space will be added in them. By default, a space will be added between all of them. Okay. So the output will be A space B. Now what is this sep? Sep means separator. So I told you, by default, if you are printing multiple things, by default, if you are printing A and B both, a space will be added. But let's say you don't want the space, you want something else. So by default, space is the separator. But if you want something else as the separator, you can mention it using the sep argument like this. So this is the string inserted between the values. So by default, it will be space. If you don't write the separator, space will be added between these two things or multiple things. But if you want something else as the separator like this, so you are doing print A and B and you are mentioning that the separator is sep equal to the string dash hyphen. You are saying that the separator is the string hyphen. So all the values will be printed, but the separator will not be space now, it will be the hyphen. So A hyphen B will be printed. So if you have added more, there will be hyphen between all of them. So instead of space as the default separator, you want something else, you can use the sep argument. Okay. Then the third is end. So what happens is, whenever you write a print statement in Python, by default, after that print, the cursor goes to the next line. For example, let's say I write print ABC. Okay, then again I am writing one more print line, print DEF. Then what will happen? Firstly, the program will print ABC, and by default, it will go to the next line also. By default, it always, when one print statement executes, the cursor moves to the next line by default at the end. So it will move to the next line, and now this will be executed. So DEF will be printed in a new line. And again, the cursor will go on the next line. So if you have more print statements in the program, they will go by default in new lines. Okay. But what if I don't want the new line? I want to print the next statement also in the same line. Then we can use the end argument in the print statement. So what it does, it is the string that is appended after the last value. So you can print multiple values. After the last value, this is the string that will be appended by default. So by default, it is the new line character, which is it goes to the new line. Okay, this is \n is the new line character. So by default, it goes to the new line. But if you want something else, you can use the end argument like this. So let us say we printed print hello, and the end is, you have mentioned the end, and it is the string exclamation mark. So by default, it will now not end with new line. Instead, you will have an exclamation mark at the end. So let us say, like in this program, if we execute it like this, print hello, and then you said end, it should end with an exclamation mark. Okay, and then again you are having a print statement, and you are saying here world. Okay, like this. Then what will happen? Firstly, this print statement will be executed. So hello will be printed. And now the cursor will not go in the next line because you have said that it should end with an exclamation mark. So exclamation mark will be added. And now the cursor will not go in the next line because you have just said you should not end with the new line, you should end with exclamation mark. So exclamation mark will be printed, and then world will be printed. The cursor will remain here only. So world will be printed here. And in this statement, you have not mentioned any end. So now the cursor will move to the new line. Okay. So if you mention end, then it will end with that string or that character. And if you don't mention end, it will by default go to the new line. Okay. Then the next argument is file. So I told you by default, if you are not giving file, the print function will print the output on the console or on the screen where you are running the program. But if you want to print all this information in a file instead, in a new like text file or some other file, then you can do that, and you can pass the file pointer through this like in the file argument. Okay, so you can just pass a file like object. So how does file like object is created in Python, that we will see in detail later. There will be a lecture specific for file handling in Python. Okay, how do you create a file using Python? How do you open it in a Python program? How you can write some data inside a file? How you can read files, PDF files or text file or any file? That all we will see later. But for now, just assume that whenever you want to write in a file, you will create a file like object, and you can use that to print statements. We will see this thing in later when we see file handling. Okay, so you just need a file like object, which is also called a stream. Skip this part for now, we will understand this in file handling. Okay, by default, if you're not mentioning file, then the output will be printed on screen, which is called sys.stdout. stdout means standard output, and standard output is your screen. So by default, if you're not mentioning the file, the output will be printed on standard output, which is your screen. Okay, so if you're giving a file f, now what is f here, we will see that later. Then the output will be printed, not printed on screen, instead it will be printed on in this particular file. Okay, now the last argument is very special argument, flush. So generally what happens is, when you are doing some outputting, okay, specifically not on screen, but when you are doing large amounts of output in a file, then generally what happens is, let us say you have lots of print statements. Let's say 1 million print statements. You are printing lots and lots of things. And let's say I want to print them in a file. F.txt. Okay. Then reading and writing inside a file is very costly. Okay, because it involves disk operations, right? What if the file is stored in a disk? Then writing in a disk is very costly. Okay, this we learn in computer architecture. Reading and writing in a file is not very easy. It's a costly operation. So you have to move some like disk pointer and you have to write it there. It's a costly operation. And if I just do like, if I have a lot of print statements, then what will happen? You have to write like again and again, right? And it's again like doing the write operation again and again is very costly. It takes time. Okay. So generally what the operating system does, it just stores all the print statements in a single buffer. So let us say it has stored like these 3 statements in a buffer. There is a buffer inside in memory, and it will just store all the print statements here. And it will periodically flush this buffer inside the file. It will not execute the print statement then and there. Instead, it will just store all the print statements in a buffer, and periodically, like once in a while, it will just clear the buffer and write the statements in a file, so that you don't have to write or do the costly operation again and again. Okay, so this is called flushing the buffer. Okay, so like what will happen? That is why like sometimes the print statements might be delayed. And you don't have control over it. Like whenever the buffer is full, it will just flush the output. Generally, we don't see this problem because in small programs, this doesn't happen. And generally, we output on screen. On screen, generally, it flushes immediately. It does not take time. Okay, it does not use the buffer for screens. Generally, it is used for like very complex servers when you're logging a lot of statements, right? Or when you are like trying to print a lot of very, very large strings. In that case, like this happens. So we don't see the difference between flush being true or false, but this is what the difference is. When you have a lot of print statements, when you're writing large amounts of data in a file or on a different server, it does not flush immediately. Instead, all the print statements are stored in a buffer and they are periodically flushed on that whatever output is. Okay? So what happens is, by default, the flush argument is false. Flush being false means we will use the buffer. We will not flush immediately. By default, the flush argument will be set to false, and it means कि it will not flush immediately, it will flush at its own time, it will use the buffer. But what if I want the logging to happen in real time? So whenever there are use cases where you want logging to happen in real time, when you want to flush the output immediately, you cannot wait, then you can set the flush argument to true. Okay, so it's a boolean argument. You can either set it to true or false. By default it will be false, and we will not see difference when we do it in code. But just understand that when you have large amounts of printing data, you can use flush equal to true, and then immediately every print statement will execute. It will not wait for the buffer to fill completely, and it will immediately print every statement and it will flush it immediately. Okay, so whether to forcibly flush the stream, if you want to forcibly flush the stream immediately, then you can set the flush argument to true, and by default it is set to false. So this is an example. You are printing processing and then you set flush to true, then it will immediately print on whatever output you have. Okay, so these are all the arguments in the print function of Python. Now let us look at each one of them in detail, like what each one of them does with examples. So first argument is we have values, okay, whatever values you want to print, or sometimes it's called star objects also, because it's a series of objects that we want to print. So don't worry about the star objects thing right now. Again, that we will see later when we see like what star operator means and what it does. That we will do later. For now, star, flush and file. Don't worry about these three things. These will be covered in later lectures. Okay, don't worry about it. So for now, consider it values only. Like we can print multiple values on screen. Okay, so you can pass multiple values to print separated by commas. You can write comma in between them and all of them will be printed. All values are converted to string using str before printing. Whatever value you give, so even if you are trying to print an integer or some other thing, it's okay. It will first convert it into a string and that string will be printed. Oh, see, while printing, only the string matters, right? Because like if you print an integer 7 or a string 7, it doesn't matter, it looks the same. So it first converts everything to a string and then that string gets printed. Again, the beauty of converting it before a string is a different thing. When we see classes and object, there we see like why is it useful. For now, like when we see basics of Python, there is no difference in printing an object and converting it into a string first, right? But when we do classes and objects, like when we create complex classes and like create objects of them and we try to print them, there we will see what is the like beauty of converting it into a string first and how it is handled. Okay. So let us say you actually ran this print statement. So we are printing a string name, then comma, then again Alice, comma, age, and then comma, and then 25. So all of them will be printed, and I told you like all these values will be printed and nothing is mentioned about the separator. So by default there will be a space added in between all of them. So the output will be name, colon, then a space will be added, then Alice, then a space will be added, age, colon, then a space will be added, and then 25. So this will be the output. Okay, this will be the final output. Now coming to the next argument, sep or the separator. So by default, if you don't want the space as the separator, you want to give something else as the separator. This is an example. So if you print 2025, then 04, then 14, and then we add a separator as hyphen. Instead of a space, I want to use some other separator, hyphen, comma, or anything else. I can add multiple things as well. This is a string. I can even add like this, hyphen, space, then I can add another backslash or anything. Then this entire thing will be added between all these values. Okay. In the demo, we will see this in detail. So the output will be 2025, then hyphen, then 04, then hyphen, then 14. So all these values will be separated now by a hyphen. Okay, so it defines what string to insert between the printed objects. Then the next argument we have is end, right? So this tells us what to print after all objects are done. After the print statement is completely executed, by default the cursor goes to the next line to print other things. But if you don't want it to go to the next line, if you want to print the next statement also in the same line, you can define it in the end argument. Okay, so the default is the new line character, and you can change it to avoid automatic line breaks that happen with print statements. So let us say we ran this statement print loading and we define end as dot dot dot. So by default now this after printing loading, it will not go in the next line. Instead it will print dot dot dot. So the output will be loading, then dot dot dot, and then it will not go in the next line. Then it will print the next print statement which is done. So done will be printed and then it will go to the new line. Okay, this is how end argument works. And next argument is file. So if you want to redirect the output, then you can use file argument. If you don't want to print the output in a console and instead you want to print it in a file, then you need to open a file first. In write mode. Okay, so this statement is something that we will discuss in file handling. There is another lecture in this series which discusses file handling in Python. There I will in detail explain what this statement means. Don't worry about it right now. This is just opening a file and storing the pointer of it. It's like creating a file object. Okay, there are no pointers. It's just a file object called f. And if I just pass file is equal to f now, it will, instead of printing this output on the console, it will print this output in this file output.txt. Okay, so in output.txt file, it will write saving this to a file. Okay, and then you can close the file. So these two statements we will discuss later what they mean. Don't worry about them right now. But yeah, like just understand that the file argument is used if you want to print the output in a file. Okay, and next is flush. Flush is used to force the output immediately. As I told you, by default, like the print statement does not print the output. It stores it in a buffer, and then like once the buffer is full, then it flushes the output. Okay, and if you're having large amount of print statements and if you're flushing it in a file, then this happens. By default, the flush is set to false, which means it will use the buffer. But if you want to flush the output immediately, you cannot wait. Then you can set the flush parameter to true. Generally for basic Python, we will not use it. Don't worry about it. Okay, but we will see it later when we discuss file handling, how to use the flush operator and what is the difference between flush being set to true and not set to true. Okay. So again, this is the example. If you are setting flush to true, then this processing will be printed immediately and it will not wait. Okay. Okay, this is all about basic output in Python, but there is something called as formatted output in Python. So what if I want to beautify my output in some way? For example, let us say I want to print the output in a tabular format in a beautiful way like this. Roll number, then name, then I have some roll numbers, let's say 12, then the name is, let's say, ABC. And if the roll number is 136, then the name is hello. And if the roll number is 3, then I want to print the name as Jay Bansal, let's say. Okay, like this. I want to print it beautifully. See, if I just run the print command like this, print roll number and the name, and then I write print 12 and ABC and so on. I write it like this. Then I will not get the output in this beautiful format. Instead, what will happen? It will first print R, O, L, L and roll number, and then space will be added by default, and then name will be printed with a single space. Then in the next line 12 will be printed 1, 2, then a space will be added and then ABC will be printed like this, and then 136, let's say 136 it will be printed and then space and then hello, then 3 and space and then like this. This is how the output will be printed. This is not very nice, right? This is not a very nice tabular format, but I want this kind of output, like some beautiful output. So I can add some padding, like by default it should take this much space. I want to tell that roll number, let's say I know is at most 4 digits. So I will tell that roll number, every roll number should take at least 5 spaces no matter how the size of roll number is. then I can write it that way. And similarly, then after that you add this much space, and then you start writing name, and name should take at least this much space, something like that. So to do that, you can add padding. And what padding is, let us see like in detail in this lecture, like what padding is and how you can create the output in a beautiful format. Okay, so formatted output is used if you want to like output, you just don't want the raw output. Instead, you want the output in a better format. Okay, so sometimes raw printing isn't enough. You need to present values cleanly in reports, tables or logs. Okay, you want to print the output in a better way, better visualization. You want to align numbers and strings for readability. You want to control the precision of floating point numbers. Okay, so let us say a number is like this much, 3.14173, something like that. I don't know what the value of pi is. There is a very large number present, but I want to print it only to 2 decimal places like this. So how do I do that? I want to print every floating point number in 2 decimal places only. So that is setting the precision of a floating point number. Okay, so that also you can control. Or you want to construct human readable messages from variables. Okay, so essentially when you want to beautify the output, you can use formatted outputs. So let us see how to do that. So there are multiple ways to do formatting in output. There are 3 ways. The first is using F strings. F strings. They are also called formatted strings. Okay, so how do they work? So let us say you created a variable called name and you stored the string Alice inside it. Name is equal to Alice. Then you created another variable marks and you stored 93.456 in marks. Okay, and now you can use formatted string like this. So here the syntax goes like this: print. And now instead of directly writing the variables, instead of directly writing what to print, instead they have started it with an F. That is why it is called an F string. So it starts with an F and then you write a string. So Python now understands that this string is not a normal string, it's a formatted string instead. So now what happens in a formatted string? You can write variables inside curly brackets. You can actually write variables inside curly brackets. So if I write the variable name here, then it will, so whatever a formatted string is, inside a formatted string, if you have curly bracket and a variable name inside it, it will not print the curly bracket or the variable name. Instead, it will print the value of this variable when printing the output. So here I have written like curly brackets mean name, scored, marks, marks. So what it will do, it will not print name and marks here. It will instead print the value of name and the value of marks inside the string. Okay, so the output will be, the value of name is Alice. So Alice space is there, scored, then marks is 93.456. So 93.456 marks. This is what will be printed. So if you want to print the value of variables inside a string itself, so there are 2 ways to do this. You can also have written like this. This statement would have also worked like this. I can write print name. So firstly I'll write name, then comma, then scored, the string is scored, then comma, then marks, then comma, then marks. So this will also give you the same output, because if you have not added the string, it will try to print the value of this variable. If you have not added the string, it will try to print the value of this variable, which is Alice. Then by default it will add a space, then it will print the string scored, then it will add a space, then it will print the value of marks. Marks ka value kya hai? 93.456. So 93.456, then it will print the string marks with a space. So the same output will be there, but this is not very readable and there are a lot of breaks in this print statement. If you want to do it in a single string, then you can use the formatted string like this, and this is how the output looks like. Okay, this is how F strings are used in Python. Now you can do some special type of formatting as well, as I told you. Like what if you want to add some padding, or you want to limit the floating point number to 2 decimal places, right? You don't want all the 3 decimal places. Let's say I want, like I have like the percentage scored by all the students, and I calculated it in a Python program, but now I want to print them only to 2 decimal places, not like 4 or 5 decimal places. They can, like, in the memory they are stored in high precision, they are stored to 7-8 decimal places, let's say, but while printing, I want to, in the report card, I want to print only in 2 decimal places, so that it is consistent for everyone. Then you can do all that. So inside the F string only, you can have some special type of notation that will do this padding or precision control. Okay. So let us say I want to print a floating point number only to 2 decimal places. Then generally what I write like this, right? Print, let's say the variable name is val. Inside the variable val, I have like I want to print something. So let's say the percentage scored is val %. Okay, and now let us say the value of this variable val is 73.12987.6, something like that, or let us say 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, it is up to 6 decimal places. Then the output of this statement will be percentage, and it is a formatted string. So this curly bracket inside whatever the variable is, that variable's value will be replaced. So 73.123.456, and then the percentage symbol will be inserted like this. But what if I want to automatically round the percentage value to 2 decimal places? I don't want all this entire thing. I want to only like print up to 2 decimal places. So then what I will do, instead of writing it like this, I will say, so again I am using the formatted string, but now I am saying print the variable val and also print it only point to f. So round bracket. Okay. So now what I'm telling the compiler, key, you have to print this entire string. It's a formatted string. But instead of printing the variable val, print the variable val in this format. So everything after the colon is the format. And the format is point2f. Point2f means after decimal take 2 places. After decimal take only 2 places in a floating point number. In a floating point number, after decimal print only 2 decimal places. So it will print only 2 decimal places, and it will automatically round the output. So if I print it using this, the output will be percentage, and then the output 73.12%. Okay, this will be the output. And for every student, like no matter how many decimal places you have, the output will be beautified and only 2 decimal places will be taken. Okay. Now your purpose while beautifying the output is, let's say you want to right align the output, right alignment. So if you have worked on any editor like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you know what alignment means, right? So alignment means like where do you want to print the output. So let us say I want to print my output in 10 characters only, within 10 characters only, or let's say within 6 characters only, 1 2 3 4 5 6. I want to use only 6 spaces to print my output. Okay. And let us say I want to print the percentages got by, or not, let's say percentages, let's say the roll number. I want to print the roll number of a few students. And I know that the roll number takes at maximum 5 digits. Somehow I have this information that any roll number in a school, in a particular school, is at maximum 5 digits. So let us say a few roll numbers are given: 3, 123, 3, 7, 1, 2, 9, 7, 2, 1, 4, like that. Okay. And I want to print all these roll numbers in 6 places exactly so that my output is beautified, because I want the roll number and name both. So in this six spaces I will print the roll number, and after that with a space I will print the name. I will start printing the name like this. So how do I print this roll number? So that it always takes 6 spaces. So for that I can use either right alignment, left alignment or center alignment. So there are multiple ways to print it. If I want to print all the roll numbers to the right like this, roll number 3, roll number 123, roll number 37129 or 7214, like this, all the roll numbers should be printed to the right. Then I will use right alignment. If I want to print all the roll numbers to the left, then 3123, then 37129, then 7214. Automatically 5 spaces will be added here. Automatically 2 spaces will be added here, 1 space will be added here, and 2 spaces will be added here. And all the data will be left aligned. And this is right alignment. Automatically 5 spaces will be added here. I don't have to do anything. Okay? I hope you're getting the point. So space will be added automatically. You don't have to manage it. Cool? And center alignment means I want everything to be printed in center. Like this. Like this. This is in center only. Right? 3 is in center. There will be spaces before it and after it. Everything will be center aligned. So I can use either right alignment, left alignment or center alignment, and it will ensure that those many spaces are always taken. Like this. So if I use formatted output like this, var colon greater than 10. Greater than 10 means I want to use right alignment and it should use exactly 10 spaces. The variable var should be printed in exactly 10 spaces in a block of size 10, and it should be right aligned. So let's say you have a variable called name and you want to print this name exactly in 10 spaces, and it should be right aligned. Then it will be printed like this, because Alice is 5 digits. So 5 spaces will be added before it and then Alice will be printed. Similarly, if you print the variable with the less than sign, it means it should be left aligned and it should take 10 spaces in total. So it will be left aligned, and then after that immediately 5 spaces will be added. And if you add one more print statements, it will be printed after it. It will take 10 spaces. And similarly, if you use the up sign like this, okay, power wala sign, then it will be center aligned. So the variable name will be printed in the center aligned and it will again take 10 spaces. So 2 spaces and 3 spaces will be added and it will take 10 spaces and it will be printed in center. Okay. So this is how you can make sure that a particular variable takes at least that much space. Again, it will be used if you want to print tabular data in a beautiful format. You can use this. Then the next type of formatting is padding with zeros. So what if I want to print all these roll numbers? I want to print all these roll numbers in 6 spaces, but now I want to add zeros in front of them so that there is no space. So if a number is 3 digit, is a single digit, then it should be like printed like this. Roll number, and every roll number will take 6 spaces. And automatically I want them to pad with zeros. See, here we are padding with space, but what if you want to pad with zeros? So the output, like now I want the output like this: 0 0 0 0 0 3. Then 123 should be printed like this. Then 37129 will be printed like this. Then 7214 should be printed like this. So I want to pad, like everything should take 6 spaces. But instead of space, I want zeros to be present before them. Then that is possible if I just write. So here I said like this was for decimal places, and greater than, less than, and power was used for right align, left align, and center align. But if I write like this 05D, so it is saying that the variable should be printed in 5 spaces in decimal format, which means it is an integer. So the integer, like the variable which is an integer, should be printed in integer format. It should take 5 spaces and you have to pad it with zeros. It's a complicated syntax, but like if you have to print roll number like this, what will you do? So let us say the variable name is R, in which the roll numbers are stored, and I want to print these roll numbers in this format. So I will just say print formatted string. I want to print the roll number R, and then I will say every roll number should be printed in 6 digits and every roll number should be padded with zeros. So I will say 06D. Okay, so roll number will be printed in 6 digits as an integer and zeros will be padded, and this will happen. Okay, this is the syntax. This is how formatted strings can be used if you want to print beautified output. Okay, here are a few examples on the same. Let us say there is a variable called price and the value is 123.456. And if we use the print statements in a formatted string like this, price colon rupees, and then we have the variable price, and then we have used the precision control here. Okay, I want to print the floating point number, but I want to print only after decimal, I want to print only 2 digits. So I told you it will round the answer. See, after decimal I want only 2 digits, but 0.456 will be rounded to 0.46 because like that's how rounding works, right? Since the next digit was greater than 5, the previous digit will be rounded to 6. So the output will be price is rupees 123.46. Only 2 digits after decimal are printed and it is already rounded. Okay, and the next is you have to print price, then right aligned, this is all printed, and then you are using here we have the formatted output. Here the formatting happens inside the curly bracket. So we are printing the variable price in a floating point number. Price is a floating point number and I want only 2 digits after decimal point. Let me explain it with detail what is happening here. It's a floating point number. I want only 2 digits after decimal point, and we are saying you also have to right align it and it should take 10 decimal places. You should also right align it and it should take exactly 10 places. So this entire number takes only 10 places, exactly 10 places. So 5 spaces will be added, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or actually 4 spaces will be added, sorry. 4 spaces will be added because see, this is like 6 more spaces, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 characters are already there, but I want exactly 10 characters. 10 characters space I want. So 4 spaces will be added, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so that the entire value takes 10 spaces or 10 character space. Okay, it takes 10 spaces and it is right aligned. The entire number is right aligned, and after decimal you are only printing 2 decimal places. This might be a little confusing or complicated at first, but in the demo we will try to see more such examples, so it will become more clear. Okay, so at the end of this video we will have a demo on outputting and formatted output. There we will see more such examples so that this formatting and padding becomes more clear. But I hope you understand this, and this thing is for right padding, right alignment, and this thing is for precision control. So I want to print only 2 decimal points after decimal point. Okay, so this is how formatting is done using F strings. So we have seen F strings which are used to format the output or like read the data from a variable and print it on the screen. The other way to beautify the output or format the output is using the dot format method. Okay, so it's another way to achieve the same thing. All the functionalities that you achieved using F strings can be achieved using the dot format method inside the print function as well. So let us see how it works. So here we have defined a string called template, and we have said that the string is inside the string itself we have some pair of curly brackets. Okay, and these curly brackets are called placeholders. So what will happen is, whenever you are trying to print, you can just say what you want to replace these curly brackets with. So for example, here the template is placeholder. So let us call it placeholder P1, and let us call the second one the placeholder P2. So the string that we have defined is template is equal to P1 space scored space P2 space marks. So whatever we give the values of P1 and P2 while printing, they will be replaced with the curly brackets. So here when we are saying like print and we are giving the string template, so we want to print the string template. If we don't write dot format, the entire string as it is will be printed along with the curly brackets. But now if we use the dot format function, so with this string we have used the dot format function, and inside format we have said that the first argument is the string Alice and the second argument is the integer 93. So the first curly bracket will be replaced with Alice and the second curly bracket or the second placeholder will be replaced with 93. Remember that you need to pass exactly same number of arguments inside the format function as the number of curly brackets you have inside the template or inside the string. So the output will be Alice scored 93 marks because the first placeholder was replaced with Alice and the second placeholder was replaced with 93. Okay, so like same functionalities we can achieve using f strings as well, and same functionality you can achieve with format function as well. The format function works in a way that it will use the curly brackets as the placeholders and it will replace the arguments with the curly brackets or the placeholders. Now by default what will happen, the first argument will go in the first placeholder and the second argument will go in the second placeholder. What if I want to change the order? Okay, what if there are many such placeholders inside the same string? How do I keep track? So to do that, what we can do is we can have positional or keyword arguments as well. So what we are saying here is Python is a zero index language. Okay, so every index starts with 0 in Python. So 0 is the first number in Python and then 1, 2, 3 and so on, right? So here what we have said that, so this is our string. Okay, this is our template. This is our template. So we want to print this particular string, but it has a few curly brackets. And inside there we have said that the first argument should go here and the second argument should go here. So like because I told you, right, Python is a zero index language. So 0 means the first argument and 1 means the second argument. So whatever you are passing as the first argument will go at position number 0. See, previously we did not say 0 or 1. So by default, it will consider the first bracket as the first placeholder or the 0th placeholder, the second curly bracket as the second placeholder or the first indexed placeholder. But what if I want to change the positions a little bit? I can write 1 here and 0 here. If I write 1 here and 0 here, the first argument will go here and the second argument will go in position number 1 or index number 1, right? So if I want to change the order, then I can actually give the number or the position inside the curly brackets as well. So here we have said that the first argument, like this placeholder should be replaced by the first argument and this placeholder should be replaced by the second argument, and hence the printed statement will be Bob got 95 marks. Okay, and similarly we can actually, like, what if I don't want indices, instead I want a meaningful name for the placeholder? We can do that as well. So here we have given a meaningful name to the placeholder. So the first placeholder has a name called name itself and the second placeholder has a name called score. So now while giving the arguments, we have to pass the key and value both. So key is the name of the argument which we need to replace, the name of the placeholder, and the value is what it needs to be replaced with. So here the template that we wanted to print was name got score. Okay, and we are formatting it with name being Alice and score being 91. So automatically wherever in the curly brackets you have name, Alice will be replaced by it, and wherever you have a score in the template, 91 will be replaced by it. So the final output will become Alice got 91. Okay, and you can actually swap them as well. You can here write score equal to 91, name equal to Alice. Automatically the same output will be displayed. So we'll see in demo, like we'll try to see different combinations how you can use it, and what if we don't give a particular argument at all, what happens? Will we get an error or what happens? In the demo we will see what happens then. Okay, so this is another way to format the output in Python. Okay, and also the same formatting options, like what if we want padding, like after decimal places we want only 2 decimal places, or we want to pad with zeros. the same padding which works with f strings works with dot format function as well. So here is an example. We defined a floating point number called num and we stored the value 7.3456 to it. So after decimal places, we have 4 decimal points. Now I just want to print 2 decimal places out of it. So what I will do is, we will say that value is, and inside the curly bracket we are saying that the format of this particular number should be a floating point number, and after decimal point you just have to take 2 decimal places and it will automatically round the number, same as f strings, okay? And then we are saying dot format num. So the number num will be replaced with the first curly bracket, right? So the first curly bracket will be replaced by the variable num, and num is having value 7.3456, and it will be printed only up to 2 decimal places. Up to 2 decimal places, if you round this number, you will get 7.35, okay, because you had 5, 6 after it, okay, standard rounding rules. So the output will be, value is 7.35. Okay, so you can do padding and all the functionalities that we had before. Similarly here, what we are saying, we want to use exactly 8 decimal places. We want to use exactly 8 spaces to print the floating point number, and we have to pad with zeros. And after the decimal place, I have to print only 2 decimal places. So that is what the formatting is. We have to pad with zeros, we have to use exactly 8 spaces, and after the decimal point, you have to use 2 places. So what will happen? The output will be this much. So see, we have used exactly 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Decimal point also counts as a valid space. It takes up space, right? So exactly 8 spaces are used, and after decimal point only 2 points are printed, and it is left padded with zeros. Okay, so that's what it is. So the same padding rules which we saw in f strings can be used in format function as well. Now another way to format output in Python is the third way. There are 3 ways to format output. First is f string, second is format function, and third is the standard way to use the percentage operator. In C and C++, we do formatting in this way only. There is only one way to format output, using the percentage operator. In Python, we have 2 extra ways, f strings and format function. But the C and C++ way works in Python as well. So you can use the percentage operator to format the output. So for example, we defined a string name called Alice, and we defined a integer variable marks and stored the value 93 in it. Now we want to, now we are saying that we want to print this particular string, but instead of using curly brackets, in the string we are writing %s and %d. So what do %s and %d mean? So this is the formatting. %s means string, %d means integer, and %f means float. Okay, so we are saying that you have to replace it with a string here, and here we are saying you have to replace it with an integer here. You have to define the type as well. See, in f strings and format function, you don't have to define the type, and that's why they are more used while formatting strings. But if you have the type ready and you can define the type as well, you can use the percentage operator as well. So here we are saying that, and after that you just have to write percentage, and in the bracket you will just pass the arguments. So the first argument will be replaced by the first percentage sign, and the second argument will be replaced by the second percentage sign. So name will go here and marks will go here. Okay, remember the type here, you have to mention the type of the variable that you are printing as well. So the output will be Alice scored 93 marks. This is another way to format output in Python using the percentage operator. Okay, these are some practice exercises. What if you want to print a beautiful table like this? You can try these exercises on your own. Since you have already learned, you can use any of the functions using the f strings or format function or percentage operator to achieve this. There is some padding involved here as well. So try it on your own. In the demo at the end of this lecture, we will give you the solution to these problems as well. Okay, and the second problem is you have to display a number like 5 as 00005 using the formatting. Okay, so you have to pad it with 4 zeros. That's all. So these are 2 exercises on Python's output. Now after seeing output, we will see how to take input in Python. Okay, so Python provides an input function as well. Outputting is printing the output to console or a file and so on. Now what I want a running command or a running program to take input from the user. So again, input is a standard function or a standard functionality available in all programming languages. Python also supports it. While running the program, what if I want to wait and ask for the user key, like should I continue, or I want to fill up a variable using a value which user has provided. So that is called Python input. And by default, again, we will take the input from the standard console where we are running the program, and we can also take input from a file. Just like we had an output to a file, we can take an input from a file as well. So we will see how that works. Python provides us with inbuilt function to read the input. Python's input function, just like print function is used for output, input function is used for input. Python's input function allows users input from standard input or keyboard. Whatever you write from keyboard and press enter, that will be inputted to the program. It always returns a string. It always accepts a string only. It doesn't matter you are writing an integer or a string or whatever. You don't have to format it while entering. For example, if I enter 93 as an input, Python program by default input function will take it as a string only, string 93. Now if you want to take it as an integer, you have to convert it to an integer. Okay. So it always returns a string. Even if the user types numbers, it will return a string. If you want to convert it into floating point number or integer or complex numbers, you have to do the conversion in the program. Okay. So the syntax is very easy. Input, and in the brackets you can write a prompt. Now this prompt is optional. You can leave this prompt as well. You can just write like this. Input, that's it. And you can store it in a variable A. So whatever user is inputting, that will be stored in the variable A. But if you write a prompt, what will happen? Let's say I write A is equal to input, enter a number. Now if you run this, what will happen? This particular prompt will be printed. So it's the prompt that will be printed, and after this prompt, now the console will wait for user to input, like for user to write some input. So this will be happening. This will be printed, enter a number on the console, and then here it will wait. Okay, user will input something, right? But if you don't pass anything, nothing will be printed on the screen, and by default the console will wait for user to enter something. So this prompt is optional. You can write it or you can avoid it. But if you want to print something before waiting for input, you can use the prompt inside the input function as well. So prompt is optional. It is a message that is displayed to the user before inputting. Okay. For example, here we are saying name is equal to input, and we are giving a prompt, enter your name. So enter your name will be printed, and then it will wait. So let us say you entered a name, and then whenever you hit enter, whenever you hit the enter key or the new line key, that's where the inputting will stop. And whatever you have typed will go inside the input function, and that will be returned as a string. So the name will become a string, Bansal. Okay, so whatever we have entered here, that string will be stored inside this variable now. Now you can print it, print hello comma name. So we already know, whenever you write a comma, it is like it will print this thing as well and this thing as well, and by default a space will be added between them. So hello space, the name whatever you inputted will be printed on the screen. Okay, so this is how the input and output work together. Okay, and it always input function always will give you a string, even if you're writing an integer. Okay, so it doesn't know you're writing a string or an integer or what. It will always convert it to a string only. Okay, so let us say you said that age is equal to input, enter your age, and you inputted 25. Then 25 as a string will go inside age variable. 25 will not be an integer. So when you print age and the type of age, the age will be printed 25, and the type of age will be string. It will be the class string. Okay, not an integer. So what if I want to input an integer? I can just convert this string to an integer. Okay, using type conversion. Okay, since we have already seen that the input function always returns a string, so whatever input you give it, give the input function as, when you hit enter, it will take the entire written text as a string and return it as the input. right? But what if I want the data type to be an integer or float or a complex number? We can use the data type conversion to convert that string to an integer or some other data type. So let's see this example. Here we are saying input and the prompt is enter your age. So the prompt will be displayed enter your age, and then let's say you have written 25 and then hit enter. Then this 25 will be processed as a string and then returned. Now we are just casting it or changing the type of this string to an integer using the int function. Okay, so if I write int and in the brackets if I write the string 25, it will convert it to the integer 25, right? It will convert it to the integer 25. So this int will convert this string to an integer and then store it in the variable age. When you print the variable age and the type of age, then the age 25 and the type, which is int, will be displayed. So now, like using type conversion, you can actually change string data type to any other data type that you want. Same you can do with float as well. And if you take two inputs, you can convert it into a complex number as well. So just using the type conversion, you can convert string to other data types. Now, what if we want to input multiple numbers in a single line? So as I told before, input function stops reading when you hit the enter key or the new line character, right? So what if you want to enter multiple inputs or multiple integers, let's say 1, 2, 3, space separated in a single line, and you want to actually input them into multiple variables. So to do that, you can use the split function. A split function, like we will see this in detail when we discuss strings. What it does is it splits the string. Okay. So for example, there is a string, let's say 3 space 4, and you want to convert it into two strings, 3 and another string 4, right? Then you can use the split function. If you use split function on this string without any argument, by default it will split it with the space character. Okay, and when we discuss strings in detail, we will discuss this function. For now, just assume that if you want to input multiple integers or multiple strings in a single line which are space separated, then you can use the split function with the input function. So here we are saying input, enter two numbers. So enter two numbers will be displayed. Then let's say you entered 3 space 4 and then hit enter. Then 3 space 4 as a single string will be inputted. And then when you use dot split function, it will split it into two strings. 3 will go in A and 4 will go in B. But right now, both of them will be strings only. So A and B will be strings, and A will contain the string 3 and B will contain the string 4. So when we print you entered A and B, then you entered 3 and 4 will be printed on the screen. Okay, so that is how you can actually input multiple numbers in a single line. Now again, since these numbers were strings actually, what if I want to convert all of them into integers as well? Then there is a beautiful function called map. Map function can map or apply the same data type conversion on lots and lots of variables. So here what happens is, we know that this input dot split is actually giving me two strings 3 and 4 when I enter 3 and 4. But when I pass it inside the map function, so what I'm doing is I'm saying map, then int, then I have basically this entire input is getting converted into two strings 3 and 4, right? So what will happen, map function will apply this particular function, or map function will apply this particular data type to this string also and this string also. So map function can be used if you want to apply the same data type conversion on a series of data or lots of data. So the split function will first convert them to a series of data, series of strings. Then I'm applying the map function and converting all of them into integers. Again, map function will also be discussed in detail when we see functions. So split and map function will be discussed in detail later. But right now we are discussing it in input because there are a lot, like even when you do competitive programming, we want to input all the data in a single line, which are space separated in different integers or a list of integers. So you can use map function and the type conversion to do that. Okay. So now A and B will be integers, and when you output the sum of them, A plus B, 3 plus 4, which is 7, will be printed on the screen. Okay. So this is all about inputting data in Python, and we can also pass command line arguments. So what are command line arguments? we know if we have to run a Python script, we use the Python 3 command, right? Like this. Python 3. And then let's say my script name is script.py. If I have to run a Python script, let's say this is my Python script called script.py. I have to run this piece of Python code. It is stored with the file name script.py. We already know if we have to run this program, I just use the Python 3 command in my shell, right? So this will run this entire script. But while running the script, if I have to pass certain inputs, while running the script, then and there, if I have to run the script with different parameters. Let's say in this script, there was a parameter called name and age. But these are variable. So I want to run this script with different possible name and age combinations again and again. So I don't have to change the value of name and age in the program itself. I can pass these parameters while running the script like this. I can pass the name as ABC and I can pass the age as 25 like this. And let's say I want to run this script again with some other name and some other age. So I can call it like this, Python 3 script.py, and then I am calling with some other name, let's say DEF with an age of 32. Then the same script will be run, but I want to use different name and age in this entire program. So while running the program, if you're passing some arguments as input to the program, then these are called command line arguments, because this is your command line, right? In the command line, you are running the program using Python 3 command. So while running the program in the command line, if you're passing some arguments to the script, they are called command line arguments. They are also a kind of input to the program, right? You are not writing the input through the console, but while running, you are passing this input. So these are called command line arguments, and you can use sys.argv function to get these command line inputs. So sys is a library, system library. It's this library contains all the useful functions which are closely related to the operating system. So since when you're running this command on command line, you're actually telling the operating system to run the Python file, to execute the Python file, and also telling it that the command line arguments are this and this. So the sys library can catch all these inputs. You just need to import this library by running this command, import sys. So the sys library is now installed. You can use all the functionalities which are there in sys library. And specifically, we need to use sys.argument vector. Okay. So argv means all the arguments that we are passing in command line. So how does it work? Sys.argv is actually a list. It's a list of all the inputs that you are passing after Python 3. So what will happen? Sys.argv is a list. This list will contain everything that you are passing after Python 3. After Python 3, whatever you are writing. So this will go in as the first element. This will go as the second element. This will go as the third element. And we already know that Python is a zero index language. So this will be stored at index 0. This will be stored at index 1. This will be stored at index 2 and so on. You can pass many other arguments also. Automatically, when you run a script, sys.argv will be populated with all these things which you are writing here in a list. So it is never empty, because at least you are writing the script name at least, right? So the script name goes as the first element, then the second argument goes as the first element, and so on. Okay, so you can use that. So here we are saying, let's say we want to print the script name, then I can just use sys.argv at index 0, because the script name is actually present at the index 0. So script.py will be printed. Okay, and if you have to print the other arguments as well, you can use sys.argv starting at 1 and ending and not ending. So this thing, like this particular notation, you might not know right now. So forget about this. Let's say I printed sys.argv 1. Then at the first index, what do we have? DEF. So DEF will be printed. And if you printed 2, like the at index 2, then 32 will be printed. So you can always use this as the name and this as the age. Who is stopping you? You can actually in the program itself define a variable like this. Okay, the name in this entire program is actually sys.argv1 and age is a variable containing sys.argv2. So now in this particular program, if you write these two lines, what will happen? Whatever you pass as the first argument will go in name, and whatever you pass as the second argument will go in age. Always see, it will consider the first argument as the script name. So the 0th index will always be the script name, because whatever you write after Python 3 goes in the list called sys.argv. Got it? So this is how you can use command line arguments. Again, we will see in demo like how it works. So for the entire input output, we will see a demo now. Okay, before the demo, these are the practice exercises for Python's input. As we had practice exercises for Python output, these are the exercises that we will solve in the demo again. These are for input. Write a program to input your name, age and college and print them in a single line. Then read 3 space separated integers and print their product. Okay, so we will solve these exercises as the part of the demo. Before checking the demo, try to solve these on your own. If you're not able to get it, you can check the demo and there we will solve these problems. Okay, now let's see a demo on input and output in Python. In input output, firstly we saw was Python output. So let's see that. So to start, let's begin with the syntax of print statement. If you want to print anything in Python, we can just use the print statement. And inside brackets, we can write any constant or any variable. The value of the variable will be printed. So if I write directly the string, let's say hello world, this particular string hello world will be printed on the screen. Okay, hello world is printed, and it is not because of the display feature. Even if you can write multiple print statements, let's say I write print 10 an integer, and then yes, let's say we print a floating point number and then a complex number and then a boolean true. All of them will be printed in new line. By default, they will be printed in new lines. Okay, so this is how you can use the print statement. Now you can also print multiple values in a single line, right? We have seen this. So if I write print, let's say name is Alice and age is, okay, we don't have to add space, 25. So what will happen? By default, when you print multiple objects, a space will be introduced by default between them. It will introduce a space, and it is not because I am adding a space here. Even if I don't add a space here, that space will be added. This space has nothing to do with the space that is printed. Okay, the space will be added. But what if I don't want this space? Let's say I want to print today's date 2025 and then the month is 06 and then the date is 29th. Okay, so by default a space will be added. If I don't want space to be added between them, I can use the sep argument. So separator, let's say I give the string hyphen, then hyphen will be added. And you can add multiple characters as well. Let's say I added 3 hyphens, then 3 hyphens will be added. Okay, so this is how you can work with the separator. Now we can have let's see the feature of new line, okay, or end. So if I by default, if I print multiple statements, if I print hello and then if I print world, if I print hello and then world, they will be printed in new lines. So by default, every print statement will firstly print and then it will move the cursor to the new line. But what if I don't want to move the cursor to the new line? I can use the end argument to do that. So if I write print, let's say hello, and if I give end equals to, let's say I don't want to end with a new line, I want to end with a space. Then hello will be printed and then a space will be added and the cursor will not go in the new line. Instead it will stay there and you will have hello world printed like this. So these are all the arguments that we saw in the print statement. Now let's look at formatting output in Python. So what does formatting output mean? Let's say I have a variable which has the string Alice and I have a variable score which just says how many marks Alice has scored, let's say 93.456, and I want to print something like Alice scored these many marks. So one way of doing that will be name is the variable, and then I'll say scored, then I'll say score, which is the variable, so 93.456 marks. So this statement will be printed, Alice scored 93.456 marks. The other way of doing it, because this does not look clean, like what are we trying to do here? We can use formatted string to do this. So other way of printing the same statement would have been print. You can use the formatted string using the F. So if you add F character and then you add single quotes or double quotes, it will become formatted string. So here I can in curly brackets I can give any variable. So I can say name. In a single string I can write the entire statement. So name scored, score marks. So all the curly brackets, the variables will be replaced by their actual values. So this is the first way of doing formatting. Now in the same formatted string, if I want to do some extra features, because let's say this score had like 3 decimal places after it, I want only 2, or I want only 1, and I want center align, left align, right align, things like that, and I want to pad different values, then we can do that as well. So let us take the same example we discussed in class. So let's say the price is 123.456. Let's say this is the price, and if I just print the price directly, if I directly just print the price, let's say price is I don't want to use 0.2f right now. Let's say I just directly print the price. So then the normal price with all the decimal places will be printed. But if I only want 2 decimal places after the decimal point, then I can write price, then colon. Whenever you write colon, it is a formatted output. Okay, colon, then we are saying after decimal place, I want only 2 digits, and I want the answer to be in a floating point number. So 0.2f means after decimal places in the floating point number you will only print 2 decimal places. So now it will automatically round off and you will see price is 123.46. And so this is the price which is like rounded to 2 decimal places. Rounded to 2 decimal places. Now let's say I want this particular price to take at least 10 spaces. Right now it is taking as much space as it wants. But what if there are different prices and I know that maximum they can go up till 10 places. So I can do that as well. So I can write like let's copy the same statement and I'll say 10.2f. Okay. So this is again rounded to 2 decimal places, but it will take exactly 10 spaces. See, it will take exactly 10 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is taking exactly 10 spaces now. So I'm saying like it should take exactly 10 places, and after the decimal point I need only 2. Okay. So it is taking exactly 10 spaces or places or whatever. Okay. And this is by default it is doing right align. What if I want to do left align? Okay, so to do left align you can just add a less than symbol like this. After colon, if I add a less than symbol, it will do left align. Okay, and if I do center align, I can use the XOR wala operator. Okay, so it will do center align. So you can say here center align. Okay. So it is again taking 10 spaces, but now it is in the center. Okay, and by default it will automatically add spaces in the left and right. So if you want to beautify the output and create some tables, we will see that in practice exercise. You can do it using this formatting. Okay. Now the other way of doing formatted output is using dot format. Right now we were using f strings. Now we can use dot format function as well. So let's say you can actually create templates to do that. So how to use the templates? I can say curly brackets scored curly brackets marks. So all the curly brackets will be replaced by some variable. Will be replaced by some variable. Now I can directly print template dot format name and score. We already had name and score before, right? Or instead of name and score, I can give directly Alice and the score here as well. But we already have name and score variables. Name is Alice and score is 93.456. So you can use this string as well. So like what we did here, we created a template And then we said in this template, I just use dot format, and automatically the first curly bracket will be replaced by the value of the first variable, and the second curly bracket will be replaced by the value of the second variable. So here it will print Alice scored 93.456 marks. Okay. And this is like when we are not saying like automatically it will replace the first variable with the first and the second variable with the second. But what if I want to do it in a different order? Let's say let's directly use the print statement. What I'm trying to say is here I will say what if I want to pass the score first and then I want to pass the name. I want to pass the score first and then I want to pass the name. But in the template, it will automatically pick score first and then name. So if I print this, it will say 93.456 scored Alice marks. I didn't want that. So if I want to pick the second argument first, Python is a zero index language. So I can say 1 here and 0 here. So which means 0 means the first argument. So first argument will go here and then the second argument will go here. It starts with 0. Always remember that. So this is another way of doing it. And if I want to give names to them, because 0, 1 is not very convenient, right? If I want to give names to these things, then I can say like this. The third way in which I'm using keyword arguments like name, scored, marks, marks. So in dot format, now I'll have to give name and score both. So I'll say name is, let's say, Bob, and the score which Bob scored was let's say 90. So okay, marks, not score. So let's use marks. Okay, this is another way of doing it. So you can use dot format instead of f strings to accomplish the same. Again, you don't need to remember all of them, because like just one, like using formatted string you can achieve everything, or you using dot format, like any one of them, if you know, you're good to go. Okay, so this was using the dot format. Now the third one is using percentage, or like the traditional style. In C programming language we do it this way, using %d and %f. You can do that as well. So let's say again name is Alice, and again let's say the score is 93.456. Instead of using formatted string, I want to use the percentage operator now. So I will say print and inside the string I can use %s. %s means I want to enter a string here. Okay, so %s scored %d, %f. %f is for a floating point number. So %f is for a floating point number. I want to add a string here and a floating point number here. See, the disadvantage of using this percentage wala way is you have to predetermine and say that this is the data type that is going to be introduced. Previously that was not the case. Like it can pick any data type and it can print it. Okay, but here you need to know the data type. So I can say marks. And now here to use it, I have to give percentage symbol, and then in brackets I have to give both of them. So like the syntax is slightly complicated. Percentage symbol, and then in brackets I have to say name and score. So it will auto populate these values and it will say Alice scored 93.456 000 marks. So %f by default always gives 6 decimal places, and that's why this is happening. Okay. So these are multiple ways of formatting output in Python, like, or beautifying the output in Python. Now let's move to the practice exercises that we had in class, which I gave you in class. So firstly you try them, and then like you can see the solution here. So first was print the following table with proper alignment. This is the exact output that we want. Though like the cheating way of doing it will be like copying this, and then in print you can just write multi-line statement and then just paste it, and then it is done. But no, we don't want to do that. Okay, like we will use formatted output to do this. Okay, so let's write the code. So what is happening here? If you see, like we want name, and the name is taking some spaces. Name has to take exactly how many spaces? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so the name is taking essentially 13 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes, 13 spaces. So name, the name column is not exceeding 13 spaces at all. So it should take 13 spaces. So how do I accomplish that? So I'll say you can use anything. Let's say we use format, dot format or let's create a template at once. Let's create a template, and in the template I'll say I want to use exactly 13 spaces to write name. So if I just write curly brackets, it will just populate the variable which I'm giving. So I can give the variable as name. Let me like slowly tell you what I'm trying to say here. If I just use curly bracket and then curly bracket, and I can do it this way, print template.format name marks Alice 91, Bob 88 and Charlie 95. Okay. What is happening here? It is printing the first variable and then the second variable, but here spaces are not good. Firstly, it is printing name and marks, then Alice and 91, then Bob and 88 and Charlie and 95, but spaces are not good. I want the first curly bracket to take exactly 13 spaces. That's what I want, and I want it left aligned. So like firstly, let's make sure that it takes exactly 13 spaces. To do that, what will I do? I'll use colon and then I'll just write 13. So it will take exactly 13 spaces, and actually we are done. Actually we are done, because by default it is just doing it left aligned. But what if, let's say I wanted center aligned, then I can write this here, and then it will make the name center aligned. And I can even say how many spaces marks will take. 1 2 3 4 5 5 spaces. So I can even say marks should take exactly 5 spaces, and it is taking. So what happens is integers are by default right aligned and strings are by default always left aligned. So that's why they see here marks are always like the integers are always right aligned. But if I want these to be center aligned as well, I can write this. So everything will be center aligned. But if I want name to be left aligned and marks to be center aligned, I can do anything basically. So if I want name to be left aligned, I can write like this. So name will be now left aligned, and name is exactly taking 13 spaces. That's what I wanted in the assignment. So this is how you can do that. But in the assignment, marks were also left aligned. So if you want to do that, you can write this. So marks will be left aligned as well. But you can play with the template and the entire table will be printed. Very simple, okay? And we are using the template for all of them. Now the next one is display a number like 5 as 00005 using formatting. So we want every number that we are printing to be padded with like zeros, and it should take exactly how many spaces? 1 2 3 4 5. So I want to print 5 digits, and here we have to print 5, but let's say we want to print any number. So let's take a number num, and that is 5. And here actually it is like so the AI actually generates the code in Colab and gives you helper functions as well. So this is using formatted output. So in like after colon, if you write 5, if I just write 5, it will take 5 spaces, but by default space will be added in front. But if I want to add something else, if I want to add zeros, if you want to pad with zeros, you can write 05. So it will automatically pad it with zeros. And you can actually do it for any number. Like if I just print 5732, again it will take 5 spaces and a 0 will be added. So this is how you can do that. Okay. So using formatted strings, you can do padding with zeros as well. So this is all about outputting something or using the print statement in Python. Now we will see Python input. Okay, for input, let's start with the syntax of input. Pretty simple. If I just write input, that's all. It will take some input from the user. It is waiting. See, the cell is waiting until I enter something and then press enter. Only when I press enter, it will stop waiting. See, the cell is running and it is waiting for me to enter some input. Okay. So, and it will always take the input in a string. That is also one thing, right? It will always take the input in a string. So even if I enter a number, let's say 3 or let's say 35, and when I hit enter, it will stop, and there is a quality of cell like Colab, right? For every cell, it will always display the output of the last line. So the output of the last line was whatever was inputted. So whatever was inputted was the string 35. You see the single quotes? It was the string 35. That is what was inputted. So like this is what happens, and it will always take it in its in a string. So usually whenever you use input, you take the value in certain variable, right? Otherwise there is no point in inputting. So here we are able to display it because we are working with a Colab. Generally when you write Python scripts, the value will not be displayed. You will take it in a variable. So let's say I take it in a variable a, and then I print a. So if I write a string hello world, I can add spaces, I can add anything. Only when I hit enter it will stop. So hello world, and then the entire string is printed. Okay. And it takes the input always in a string. Remember that. Now in input we can pass a string as well, and that works as a message. You can pass a message. What is a message? It will just be printed before like the input is being processed. So what we can say is, like, let's say if I say I want to take the name from the user, and I, yes, something like this. Or like, even if I okay, sorry, let's say I want to say hello and then name, hello and then name. Okay, so what is happening here? Inside the input function I have written enter your name. So this enter your name is displayed first, it is printed first. I don't have to write and print statement explicitly. If I pass any string inside input, it will first be printed and then it will wait, and then it will wait. So it has just printed the string enter your name and then space, then it is waiting for me to enter some name. So if I write let's say Jay Bansal, so it is now, and in the next line I'm saying print hello and then name. So hello and then the name is printed. So this is how you can pass a message, and then that message will be displayed before it is waiting for the input. Okay, so this is the only argument that we have in input that is like useful. But like, what if I want to take the input, like I want to check like the type of the input that is being processed. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say I want to take the age as well. Age is equal to input enter your age, and then we are trying to print you are age years old. Okay, so here when I run it, let's say I enter the age as 26, it is saying you are 26 years old. But what is the type of age? I want to check that. I want to check the type of age. It is str. I don't want age to be in string. I want age variable to be an integer. To do that, you have to use type conversion with input. We have to use the type conversion with the input. So we can, we already know how to convert one input to another. We can convert a string to an integer if it is valid. If it is valid, for example 26, it is valid, it can be converted to an integer. I can just wrap the entire thing around int, and then it will be converted to an integer. So if I write int input, then this input will be converted to an integer. So if I write the same integer now you see the integer 35 is printed. Previously the string 35 was printed, but now I am converting it to an integer. So let's use this feature and write the same piece of code again. So I'll write the same piece of code again, but instead now I am saying that this input should be converted to integer, and the age variable will now contain an integer. Okay, so if I run this again, and if I write the age as 26, you are 26 years old. But now if you print the type of age, it will come out as int. It is an integer now. We have converted it to an integer. Okay, now we can actually read multiple inputs as well. So by default, what it does, if I just write input, and if I run this, and if I write let's say 3 and 5 and then 7, or let's say if I just write 3 and 5, it is taking this input as a single string containing 3 space 5. The single string containing 3 space 5. But what if I want to take space separated integers and all of them in different variables? To do that, we can use the split function. So if I write input dot split, and if I just run this directly 3 space 5, here a list is created containing 2 strings now, 3 and 5. So it will automatically split it based on space. More about split function we will see in the string lecture that is going to come very soon, like how the split function works, what things you can split on. But by default it will always split on space. So if I write 3 space 5, now there are 2 strings created, 3 and then 5. Now I can take them in different variables. Okay, now I can take them in different variables. But to take them in different variables, okay, I can directly do that. So I can say let's say a comma b. If I write a comma b is equal to input, let's say I give a message, enter 2 numbers. This is my message,
So I'm expecting the user to enter two numbers, and then I will take these two numbers and a and b, two variables, a comma b. But before doing that, if I run this directly and if I enter 3 space 5, I'll get an error because I want to unpack it in two variables. Again, how packing unpacking works, we will see later. But if I want to do it correctly, I just have to use a split. If I just split it, it will work fine. 3 space 5, and a and b are now populated with the values 3 and 5. I can even check it, and I can check their type as well. Let's say I print a and then the type of a, and then let's say b and then the type of b. If I print this, a is 3 and the type is a string, and b is 5 and again the type is a string. Both are strings. So again, because like by default input function always gives you a string, and split function also gives you strings only. So like how do I convert them into integers now? So I have to use the map function to do that we have seen in class. So I can write a comma b is equal to map. Again, map both of these. You have to map both of these strings to integers. So now if I print a and b and their types, now they will be integers. 3 and 5 both are integers. So a and b are now holding integers instead. Okay. So this is how you can use the split function and the map function to take multiple inputs in a single line. So this feature will be very much used in competitive programming. Like if I have to input like multiple integers, space separated integers in a single line, I can do that using map and int. Okay. So this is about all about the normal features of input. Now let's move to the exercises. So what exercises do we have? First is write a program to input your name, age and college and print them in a single line. Okay, let's input the name, age and college. Very simple. So let's take the variable name and I'm saying input. Let's pass a message as well. Enter your name, enter your age. Okay, so it automatically generated. Okay, so input, enter your name and that is going in the name variable, and then enter your age, and we are casting it into int because we want integer, and then we are taking it in the variable age, and then enter your college, and then we are taking it in the variable college because college will be a string, we can enter it directly. Now we want to print them all in a single line. So let's use formatted string and I'll say name. Let's say I write it this way, name is name, and then let's say I say that age is age, and then the college is college. In a single line I have written all this, or in a single string I have written this, and using formatted string this entire string will be printed, name colon and then space your name, then comma will be added, then this entire string will be printed as it is. Let's test it. So if I run this, enter your name, let's say Jay Bansal, enter your age, let's say 26, and enter your college, let's say you can enter anything, right? Let's say MBM Jodhpur. Okay, so it will say name, age and college in a single line. Okay, so this is how you solve the first exercise. Now let's move to the second exercise. Read 3 space separated integers and print their product. So we have to input 3 space separated integers. Let's say these integers are a, b and c, a comma b comma c. I want to take 3 integers a, b, c, and how do I do that? I'll use the input function, but input function will always give me a string, and they are space separated, so it will give me a single string. So I will just split it, but they are still strings, so I have to convert all of them into integers. To convert all of them into integers, I can use map them to integers. So map int input dot split. You can just remember this thing. So now these 3 are integers, so I can now print their product. So let's say I write again a formatted string, their product is let's say I directly write here a into b into c in curly brackets. So this product will be printed. Okay, so if I enter 3, 4 and 5, their product will be printed as 60. Okay, so this is how you can solve this problem. So these are exercises, and we actually saw a demo of Python input and output. This is how you actually do input and output in Python. Thanks. Let's meet in the next lecture. Bye bye.